Hi, cell biology research students. I wanted to pre-narrate something that discusses how to create a research poster. I started with a completed research poster from a while back that I authored, but I want to talk through some of research poster guidelines. First, the format is that you have a title. If you don't have a meeting catalog, which we don't, we want to put our abstract on the poster itself. A little introduction, some objectives. If you're hypothesis driven here, you want to put your hypothesis there. Your methods, your results. A small discussion or a bulleted conclusion is good, and don't forget your references and your acknowledgments. Now, the logistics of the boards for displaying a research poster is that you basically pin a big piece of paper to a board. Sometimes you can use binder clips or paper clips, and you print out a huge sheet of paper. That is usually currently made in a PowerPoint. One big sheet, 48 wide, 36 inches high is the normal template for a poster. You always check your meeting and make sure that that's going to fit. Sometimes I print them out and they're way too big and I can make them smaller. These posters are easily printed at campus services here at Grandview, and the department will pay for those. We also, in my lab, tried to post the poster to Cell Bio Lady to kind of archive it, and it really helps to have a little audio file to go with that, like 30-second recap of what you thought about that research. The title should convey the issue, the approach, and it should always include your organism. So we have to put fish. It has to be catchy, the title, so that you reel in anyone who's looking at it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be cutesy. Please pay attention to the length. You never want more than 2 lines. I try to restrict it to about 13 words. Put the authors in the order of the contributions. Most of the time authors 1 and 2 contributed the same, so you can flip-flop their order. And don't forget your mentor. So I put that on your template, and your institution and the city in which it's in. So I do want you to kind of look over these poster titles. Pick your favorite and then ask yourself why you singled it out. I have my own favorite. It's going to be something that your eye is drawn to, so it kind of is reeling you in for some reason, and it does tell you all the things you need to know to make you want to go to that poster. Helpful format tips. Your poster really doesn't want to be a lot of words, and you want to have a lot of nice space so that people who are reading it can see it. Don't put your title all in capitals, because it's been shown that that's longer to read, and this is a selling opportunity. You really have to reel in that visitor to your poster or that reader pretty quickly. Put headings for each section, but be consistent with those headings. Make them look the same way. The titles and the headings should be in sans serif, and the text in serif fonts. You can always Google and look those up. 11 words wide is something that I kind of go for. It gives you the kind of width that your reader will look at, and try to avoid a lot of this colored text, because people tend to forget that there's a huge percentage of the population, especially males, that are colorblind. So keep that background light. Don't use up a lot of ink, because it costs a lot of money. Don't compose your abstract until you know your word or character limit. Means that every single symposium or meeting will have a specific character limit. But I usually try to keep that abstract to something under 250 words if I can, and we've already talked about how to draft that out. Get the viewer's interest with your introduction. You don't always have to use just words. You can use an illustration, like your picture of a fish is really useful. Keep that minimum amount of background. We tend to want to hit everyone over the head with everything we know. We don't want to do that. We want to have 1, 2, 3. Let's logically lead them down to where we want them to do. Make sure you list your literature, your relevant references. This is the place to put them. You probably won't have anywhere else. About 200 words does that. And give them a logical progression of ideas, your reader. Keep your objectives very concise. You can even bullet them. If you just have one, just keep one. You don't have to have a multitude of them. And if it's a hypothesis, list it here. You're going to lead the reader back to the objectives when you do the conclusions. Your materials and methods, really don't put everything in there. The most important that a lot of people tend to forget is the experimental design. You can even make a picture to show that. 4 degrees, freezer, whatever you did to set up your experiment is very useful. Cut down on all those boring things. People can ask you if they want to or email you. About 200 words is a good rule of thumb. Results. Make sure that those graphs are titled. There are basically little mini illustrations. You want to have a lot of just data. You don't need a lot of grid lines. And these figure legends, a lot of people tend to forget them. They just put figure 1. Well, that figure should stand on its own. It should be a little tiny mini explanation of everything that went on there. Making a graph in Excel and then exporting it to a poster is a real big difficulty because the axis titles really turn out to be really small. So make them big in Excel, and when you copy and paste it, it'll look fine on your poster. Add little borders to your posters. Graphic artists will tell you that draws your reader to them, but don't make them too thick. This is an example of a picture that I put together. I really wanted to draw the reader to zinc being bad and saline being good, and to kind of keep this red-blue coloring consistent throughout the entire poster. Conclusions really need to restate your objectives or your hypotheses. By the time people get to the end, or sometimes they don't even go there, they've forgotten exactly what you are doing. Summarize your results. But very, very important and often forgotten is, why should anyone care? Why is this relevant to your field or science in general? Make sure you send them home with a take-home message. Our project is very important for this, and this reason, and we have some really great data that show that. Okay? Don't forget your literature. You make statements in the introduction, formatting. Just make it simple. You don't have to be very crazy about how you format it. Just make sure all the information is there. A lot of people forget their acknowledgments. This is where you got the money, like the Department of Biology, contributions of people like Jennifer Donnelly, who helped us get things together. When you present your poster, which you're not going to be doing, I have a few little sentences here to talk to you about. And these are a few little criteria that judges of posters use, and they're really very much about organizing, presenting, and handling your things, your questions, how appropriate your experimental design was, your originality, and then they can get really complex, talking about your enthusiasm and things like that. So please try to take these hints to make your poster, and we're going to get together a little bit more and talk